out of Illinois. This mayor went to Vegas, a Vegas trip, spent a bunch of taxpayer money, according to the allegation. I'll put her up full mask. You're looking at Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton. She's facing accusations of spending taxpayer money on lavish trips and other miscellaneous expenses. She was elected in 2021. She was the first woman to hold the position for the small village located 20 miles from Chicago. There's a reporter, Brittany Norwood. Fox News reported, that Brittany Norwood, a Dalton trustee responsible for the village's finances, raised concerns about mounting debt due to the spending practices of the mayor, alleging fraud. Ms. Norwood is listed as a defendant in a lawsuit filed in December claiming Henyard misused funds. Quote, the defendant's actions, as alleged, constitute a fraud upon the residents and taxpayers of the village. The lawsuit reportedly says the extent to which defendant has improperly expended village funds is unknown due to defendant blocking the plaintiff trustee's access to village accounts and financial situation. According to the New York Post, Henyard allegedly dished out nearly $4,000 on round-trip flights to Vegas, hundreds at restaurants, and invested thousands into personal security. It ultimately takes the officers away from their duties patrolling the small town, which has a population of 20,600 people. She was also met with criticism for expensive self-promotional billboards through the village and for hiring DJs for board meetings. Last month, she suggested a 90% salary cut as a tactic to deter candidates from running against her. However, if she wins, she can keep her annual $224,000 check. Quote, I feel as if I'm in a dictatorship, Norwood told Fox News, adding, I'm always in disbelief. I always pray before I get to the meetings, and I pray for her that she's changed, end quote. Norwood believes that the village is on the path of bankruptcy if Henyard's spending isn't regulated. She claims that Dalton is $7 million in debt and counting. Therefore, the trustees are relying on the court to hold Henyard accountable. The court process is a lengthy process, but during that time period, they're constantly spending. Norwood explained to the news network, quote, I think that the residents should know that she's manipulative. So I want them to understand that we were fighting for what's right. All we want is for her to provide transparency and for her to do what's right by the community. Put up the mayor again. Madam Mayor, I don't know if all of these allegations are true. It definitely doesn't look good for you. You seem to be a go big or go home kind of person. At this point, they're just asking you to be transparent. There's not an FBI raid on your home yet. I highly encourage you, if there's some level of malfeasance, you try to get it right between you and the good people of that village. You are still currently their public leader. All right, Rayvana, hell of a story here. Thoughts?
It is a hell of a story. And, I'm based out of Illinois. This story broke, more locally over a month ago. And since it hit local press here, she has not tapered or reined in her spending, allegedly whatsoever, which I find to be fascinating, particularly as she's facing intense public scrutiny and then using that public scrutiny to further justify security, paying for security with taxpayer dollars surrounding her, which she was doing prior to this, scrutiny she was under. I will say one thing that I love about this show is that we get to talk about examples of, alleged corruption in local politics, whereas a lot of other news shows focus in reasonably, but they focus on national corruption, but people need to realize that state and local politics can be uh, just as corrupt, if not more so corrupt, and they enjoy not being under the microscope that
Yep.
politicians at the federal, at the national level are analyzed under. So they oftentimes get away with it. And I think this story is fascinating because you have these members, of the board of trustees who are begging just for a tiny shred of transparency and like a shred of attention to be shined on this issue. They care about their city. They're and Dalton is a tiny little city outside of Chicago. So I need everyone to keep that in mind when you hear that this is $7 million that the city's now in the hole because of the debt she's creating. When we're talking about federal fiscal policy, $7 million is nothing, but that is a massive amount of
Oh, yeah.
money to the tiny town of Dalton.
Yep. Very well said.